Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is Duplex Built to Rent. Today, we're going to be talking about the sheetrock phase. We are now almost finished up on the sheetrock phase at the 401 MLK property. It's exciting because this is where the property begins to take shape. You can see the rooms, you can see the walls, you can see everything, just kind of how it's finished. And so, let's move on here and just talk about why this sheetrock phase is such an important phase for the construction side of it. So, the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is why it matters. Sheetrock is a finish item. So, in my opinion, this is one of the more important pieces that you need to take into consideration as far as like ensuring that it gets done well. And if it doesn't get done correctly, then people are going to walk into a property and automatically think that maybe some of the other stuff didn't get done well, like behind the walls, the electrical, the plumbing, and all that other stuff. Okay. And so the sheetrock, because it's one of the first things people see when they walk into a property, it matters that it is done well. So it has to look good. And sometimes, believe it or not, it is not necessarily the fault of the sheetrock guys when it's the framers who just, are kind of a little bit sloppy putting up the 2x4s, and maybe they put up some 2x4s that were a little bit, bent. Sometimes you get some of this here in Texas. We have, southern yellow pine is some of the stuff that we use, and that stuff can get a little bit warped. And so sometimes the framers will use that material to put on the walls, and it's just not very straight. Now, all the material that we use, most of it is southern yellow pine. But the point I'm trying to make is that, man, we have to either return that material that's really warped back to the supplier, or basically we just, don't use it in somehow, or maybe use it for blocking or some other stuff where it's not going to matter. All right. So we are not quite finished when it comes to this stuff yet. Okay. So one of the big things that I like to do is I like to use separate teams for the sheetrock. And the thing with the sheetrock, I'll tell you, is that it's not. Uh, you might be in a situation where you can find a company that can all do it for a good solid price, and you could just hire them out and just get it done. But what works here in Texas is we use four separate teams. And the reason we use separate teams is because there's a different skill set that's required. So let me explain. The guys who hang the sheetrock are going to be just, putting it up on the walls, making sure that, everything gets done as far as like the hard physical labor. The reason why we use these guys just for that particular item is because it is a very brute force, heavy labor type of job, and it does take a little bit of time. But quite frankly, man, it doesn't take a lot of skill per se, but it does take a lot of physical, manual, like just upper body strength. Okay, the next one, the team that does tape and float, these guys need to be a little bit more careful, right? Because they have to make sure that there's a little bit more of an art and a science to what it is that they're trying to do. So we want it to look good. The seams wherever the sheetrock meets, right? So you have sheetrock where those things meet right down the seam. What you want is to make sure that it doesn't look like there was ever anything there. Then the other one, the sanding. There's a whole nother guy or group of guys that actually go out there and do the sanding. It takes time to ensure that all this sanding gets done correctly, and not just done correctly, but it's smooth all the way across the board before the guys who go out there and do the texture. Let me show you a couple of videos here real quick that we took. These videos are actually kind of cool. So it's got a couple things here. So at this phase here, what we have going on is that we have the tape and float. We're using the backer board in the bathroom for the tile. You see, you can see the color, you can see the discoloration there, and that means it's just that it's not dry yet. So you see how it's white here and like darker right in the middle? All that means is that it's not quite dry. And these guys are just basically those, that's where the seams are, right? Where the two pieces of sheetrock are meeting. They haven't done, they haven't quite done, okay, let me stop it here so you guys can see. So you see these lines right here? So that's where the screws get nailed in. So you got the screws that go in to the sheetrock that connect to the studs that are right behind there, right? Sorry about that. And so what happens is that there's a screw there, a screw there, a screw there, a screw here. And so they just put a piece of that this mud is called it's just called sheetrock mud, and they do it and they put it over it so it's just smooth. And so here on the bottom, you see how there's little holes or little black circles. That's where the sheetrock lines, or I'm sorry, the sheetrock screws are, and they haven't actually done it yet. So that's what the bottom is going to look like. This guy's on stilts trying to get this stuff done. Where you got 9 foot ceilings here, but it's looking good. So now all this stuff gets done, right? It has to dry before they can start sanding it. So they have to let it sit for a while. So after they've let this stuff just completely harden and just dry so that it's all smooth, you notice how like right here there's like a lot more than anywhere else. It's because these particular areas right here, there's a lot more cuts for the pieces of sheetrock. There's a lot more just, more detail that needs to be taken into consideration. You see right here the wall, we have the rounded corners. They'll put mud up against that so that it's nice and smooth so you can't see it once it's completed. Let me back over here. Now these guys are doing the sanding phase. Now check this out here. This is pretty insane because I didn't even go in. There was no way I was going to go into that thing, man. It was just so dusty in there. And they're doing this to all the walls. But if you notice, you see how there's these lines all over the top and the bottom. Everything's done, everything's dry. And now what they're trying to accomplish, so the guys who do the mud for the tape and float, they just want to make sure that there's enough mud in there that can be sanded down. This part here has to be a little bit more finessed, okay, because we want the walls to be really smooth. Now you can get to a point where you can just go even higher quality of smoothness that you can do for it. Obviously it costs more because these guys have to do it a lot more times, but at the same time it's like, this is a rental property. We're going to put some texture on it and it should be good to go. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys a bunch of pictures here of what some of this stuff looks like. Let's take a look at this here. So now you can see the texture, right? It looks good. Let me zoom in a little bit. So that's what the texture looks like. It's a knockdown, so what they do, they spray it down and they like wipe it down so that way it's just very easy and smooth to take a look at. Some of these pictures you really can't see the texture, unfortunately, but you guys get the point, man. You see it right there on the very top. All right, let me go back over to the slides. Okay, now, so like I said, this is one of those things that you don't have to necessarily use four different teams to do this stuff. It's what works best for me. It's what works best for us here where we're doing this stuff. But if you can find a company that can do all of this for a competitive price, absolutely go for it. It minimizes the easement. We have a little bit more logistical aspect of it because we have to coordinate with one contractor, the other contractor, so on and so forth. But at the same time, we're looking for, price and quality, right? We're always walking that delicate balance between a good price and, good quality. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Again, if you guys want to join my school community, you can go to it right there. And if you want to go to my free masterclass, if you haven't attended yet, please do so. Sign up for free, duplexbuildtorent.com, and I will talk to you guys more about this stuff later. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.